Hey everyone, welcome back to The Balancing Act. Hey Nick.
Hey bro.
Welcome back to The Balancing Act. How are you, mate?
Good and you?
Yeah, good. On today's episode, we've got a great friend and an incredible guy. His name is AJ, Anthony Jones-Kryger, a guy who grew up in a kind of a rough kind of environment, found himself in a fair bit of trouble and a long stint away, yet Jesus met him in the most incredible of ways. And he's now studying to be a pastor, has already done his undergrad and starts his master's in just a couple of days. AJ, g'day, mate.
Hey bro.
How are you, Nate? Nick?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well.
Yeah.
Welcome to The Balancing Act, mate. Thanks for travelling up to Orange to come and see us and to spend some time having a good conversation.
Yeah, awesome. Glad to be here.
Have you enjoyed Orange so far, mate?
No, I love Orange, yeah. It's
Cold.
It's cold, but I don't know, I can see myself up here. I like it.
Yeah. Mate,
It's cool, man.
You're welcome anytime.
I say it's a cool place. I haven't been anywhere else.
No,
So-
it's true. You literally
Africa
lived
here.
Joburg, and then he landed in Sydney. I picked him up. Torrential rain. You couldn't see anything the whole way. We drove to Orange, and he's never left.
Yeah.
Hey, mate. Thanks for coming. You got quite an interesting story. But we wanted to have a conversation with you primarily around this idea of what does it look like for people in your position who have spent a long time incarcerated, institutionalized, to then find themselves free, walking with Jesus in the world, but then finding yourself not just kind of in the world around in the kind of normal society, but find yourself in the weirdest, most unique place, which is the church. And what does that look like for you as you follow Jesus? So that's where we kind of wanted to have this conversation, because you got a lot to teach us, mate, I think. Yeah. I think you got a lot to teach us, and we want to take hold of that stuff. But before we get onto that, we want to rewind a little bit and figure out how you found your place where you were, where you met Jesus in the most unique ways. So where did you grow up, mate?
I was born in Monavale Hospital, Northern Beaches, but Mum moved us out to Waterloo. My earliest memories were about 4 years old, living in Waterloo, big housing commission complex. You know, been about 3,000 people there, just, you know, battling in Redfern, Waterloo. And then we went to Surrey Hills, where I lived in probably a room this size, actually.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So no bed, just one room I shared with me and my mum and my stepfather. And then we moved to Artarmon, North Ryde, all housing commission houses. And then finally made our way to the Northern Beaches at about 12 years old, where I stayed till the rest of my life, most of my life, until, you know, I went to prison.
Yeah. When you were growing up, did it feel like you were in two different worlds in the Northern Beaches?
Oh, for sure. Especially my house. I think, there's only two houses on my street with a housing commission. So everyone else is, you know, doing all right for themselves. You know, we didn't have a car. We didn't have, you know, mum's on heroin. Like, it was very different. I go to school. Everyone's different. You know, we're the same, but it's different. You know what I mean? I grew up different.
Did you have siblings?
I did. I've got 4 brothers, 3 sisters.
Wow.
We're all step and half breeds and dysfunctional.
Cool.
But it was definitely living in two worlds, yeah.
Wow.
So I was such a different person, but I looked the same as everyone else.
Yeah.
But no one really knew what was going on, yeah.
What was going on?
Yeah, mum battling heroin, my stepfather, heroin. So for me, that's all I knew since from 4 years old, I've had memories of my mum shooting up in front of me. Yeah. You know, so like that was always imprinted across my heart and, you know, in my brain. And not knowing, growing up, not understanding what all that meant, but then started to come of age and understood what that was and what my mum and dad were, but never spoke about that to anybody. And then as I grew into, 8, 9, 10, into a teenager, I was just an angry kid full of rage and, you know, became a bully. And
Angry at what?
Angry at my situation, angry at my family, angry at myself. I was angry at everything.
Yeah.
Everything I was angry at. I knew I shouldn't be where I am, but I didn't know how to get out of that.
Mm.
So then, and then not valuing yourself, you just hate on yourself, and I just hated everything.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that was a conscious thing, even as a young person.
I remember when probably around 7, 8, I didn't know it was hate or anger, but my behaviour changed dramatically, and as I reflected as an older man, I said, okay, that's when my anger really started. When I truly understood what mum and dad were doing and putting what they were putting first. Because I grew up a lot quicker. I had to become a man a lot quicker.
Yeah.
You know, I was a little boy, but I was like a little man.
Yeah. Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
but a kid still, but
Yeah.
just desensitized to so much stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a pretty messy kind of environment.
Yeah, it's messy as.
You don't have a lot of memories of your biological father, but your stepfather played a pretty big part of your life early on, but not in a good way. How did that shape the way you understood masculinity, what it means to be a man?
Everything that he modelled to me, I thought was a man because I idolised this man. You know, he came into my life when my real father left. So I thought, wow, this man has chosen me. He stepped into my life and he said that to me, you know. So like, I trusted this guy. I was like, this man's chose me to be his son. So that was like, you know, he was a god to me, you know, without knowing what God was, but like, this guy's the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And at the start, he really showed that he was a genuine man who loved us, a very charismatic man who made you feel like you're the center of the world, you know. But then ultimately we saw the underbelly of this guy and, you know, total evil dude. And he just beat and tortured my mother and I since I was 6 years old, man. Like full on stuff. And everything that I watched this man do, if he didn't get his way, he would punch you. If he would intimidate you with the way that he was, or he'd charm you, or, you know, he was like a con man.
Yeah.
So that just, from early on, that's how I started to develop that way.
Yeah. It's Jekyll and Hyde, right?
Yeah. So I always had that kindness in me, but if I didn't get what I wanted, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to fight you. And because I couldn't really speak very well, I couldn't articulate myself. As soon as you confused me, I'd lash out.
Yeah.
So that shaped me into the man I became.
Yeah.
For sure.
You then find yourself into kind of early teenage, coming into early young adult kind of staging of life.
Yep.
Where did that take you?
Yeah, well, from a young age, from about 6, I played rugby league. And then as I got older, I started to get good, you know, and that was all my aggression came out on that field. And that's one thing my mum and dad would always get me to my game. We didn't have a car, but we got there. And as I got to about 13, 14, I started to, you know, scouts from Manly started to come watch me. And I started playing representative football at 14 for Manly. So my whole dream and my goal was that I'm getting out of this life through NRL.
Yeah.
And that was even a conscious thing, even as
from 6 years old, I told people I'm playing for Australia. I'm playing for Manly. I'm buying my mum a house and we're getting out of this place.
Wow.
Early on, man.
Yeah.
I was disciplined. I was like possessed by that. And I had this discipline. And then when I got 14, 15, I was excelling in that. And I thought, this is it, you know. But I had no education. I gave up on that. Like, I had no other tools, man. And
so you were not going to school?
I was going to school,
Yeah.
but I got into a high school for footy.
A selective school.
Yeah, so I should have repeated year 6 again, bro.
Oh,
like, I couldn't read and write properly. But I got in because I was excelling.
Yeah, because you could play footy.
Yeah.
I went to the
It's a
tryouts.
weird culture thing we have. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, but
It's
I think
such a
it's
weird
You can play
cultural
footy,
thing.
mate, it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. We'll just let you... Yeah, it's weird.
But,
Yeah.
and then I got expelled in year 8, you know, for fighting and stuff. And then I met alcohol, man.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
So in year 8, you sort of stopped school?
year 8, I probably went 50 days of the year. and then I had a fight, and then the principal just said, AJ, like, don't come back.
Yeah, okay.
So I said, yeah, fair enough. And So footy was still just the centre of my world, but alcohol was starting to filter in. And then by the age of 17, I got a serious injury on my knee, and that kind of broke me in my confidence and stuff. And I just didn't know how to get back from that because I didn't talk to anybody.
Well, you didn't have the tools.
Right. And then so I went drinking more. And then ultimately, my dad died in 2003 when I was 17 from an overdose. And then that was it. My life was over. I walked away from football. I said, the fight in me went. All I knew was how to be a thug. So I went there. And from 17, I've been incarcerated ever since, man.
So you were incarcerated from the age of 17?
To 21. I got out for 8 days when I turned 18 in the juvenile facility. 8 days later, I just didn't care, drinking. Got another fight, I went to adult prison for 3 years. Got out when I was 21. Had a 3.5 year period where I tried to have a crack at life, or poor excuse to that. But at 24, I just completely unraveled and then spent the next 14 years in there.
Were there groups of people that you were sort of hanging around with
sure.
that was sort of...
So I've been blessed with a core group of men or boys when we came together at 12, 13 or something, and we're still mates today, like we're brothers, you know. And a lot of us have lost our way and then come back. And when obviously I lost my way the worst out of everyone, but they've just supported me through the whole way, which I've been really blessed at. And they're my core group. They're my men that I can fall upon, and they can fall upon me. But then the darkness in me would be attracted to the darkness.
Yeah.
And I was doing things that, I didn't want them involved in.
Yeah.
So I would go hang with these guys. And when you're in that place, you think they love you, man. Like you think you're down. That these guys are down for you. And you're talking that crap, right? You the soldier mentality will die for you. And I'm attracted to that. But I'm literally willing to do that. But obviously these guys aren't. And the darkness attracts. So I'd go from my core group to that group. And when I go to that group, that's when all the stuff was going on,
sure.
you know?
Yeah.
But ultimately it just pulled me too far and I couldn't go that anymore. It just took me.
So you did a stint in juvie.
Yeah.
Then you did a small stint as an adult. You're out for 3.5 years trying to have a crack.
Why? What did you mean? What do you mean by have a crack? What do you mean by that? So just, sorry.
No, for sure. Okay. Well, I'll just take it back one step. When I went to juvie, I didn't want to leave. I got to do 3 things I love to do. Fight, play footy, and I got fed. Right?
Yes.
Most of the boys were like, this is good.
It's a good thought. Yeah.
But it sets you up for the fall, man. Because you think jail, what's jail? Nothing. So then I get out. I cried when I left juvie.
Wow.
There was tears in my eyes, man. I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
Sure.
My home is shit.
Well, you knew what you were walking back to, right?
Yeah, so when I tried to have a crack, when I was in prison for 3 years, like I had a sound mind. I didn't get I got a year 10 education in there finally. So I got a little bit of education under my belt. I thought, well, I'm ready to go. But I never addressed any issue from my past. I never spoke about my childhood. So when I got out, I got a steady girlfriend straight away, started work immediately. And for 12 months, I was just being a normal guy, going to work, had a partner, thinking, okay, became a personal trainer. Fitness has been my life, so I thought, that's pretty cool, I'm going to do that. And about 12 months into it, life was going good, and then just started taking too many recreational drugs, and benders and stuff. And because the Northern Beach is like party lifestyle. And this kind of overtook me. And then the darkness started to reveal itself again. And then I just pretty much I unraveled from there. Yeah, I lived that dark life. Always fighting in the light and in the darkness, man.
You were always...
I was always knew that I didn't want to be this.
Yeah.
But I had no tools, man. And I had no self-belief in myself. I didn't value myself. I didn't care if I lived or died. But I knew I was more than this. I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah. And then one night everything unravels.
Completely.
You find yourself arrested.
Yep.
Yep. And they send you to prison.
Yep.
What was the charge?
It was murder. And from the night of the crime, 3 weeks later I was arrested.
3 weeks after that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, And that 3 weeks was like, my life is done.
You just lived hard.
I just said to my brother, he's trying to change my identity. He wants to change my identity. He wants to get me overseas, all sorts of stuff. And I was like, man, don't worry about that. Let's just get drunk until they catch me. And that's what we did. I could finally convince him to do that, and that kind of broke him. But I said, I can do the time, bro. I wanted to go to jail, man. I knew I was a sick man.
That was a tough period. What did that look like, kind of going through the court system, charged with murder?
Yep.
It's going to be a big trial, publicity, the whole gamut. What was that like?
Yeah, that was brutal. It was 6 weeks scheduled. And I prepared for the brief evidence that was given to me. I prepared for months and months. I read it multiple times. I, unpacked what this witness said. I really did all my homework to try to fight for my freedom. And then I had to get up on the stand, and obviously I got grilled by the prosecution, and I was on there for the entire day, which I lied and fabricated things. And then ultimately I got a hung jury. So at that point I was like, well, that was a waste of time. I was like, I'm not doing that again, man. And then 7 months later, it shifted, and I had to wait for my second trial.
What happened to you during those 7 months? What did that look like?
Well, I was kind of depleted, man, from the court side of things, because you're getting up at 4:30 in the morning. They're taken to the cells. You get 2 meals for the day.
Is when you're off to court?
Yeah, when you're going to court every day. You don't see this, and you're taken to your courthouse. You're underground. You go to court from 9:30 to 4:30. And then you're back to the jail, hopefully before 10 o'clock at night or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just boom, boom, boom. You just
Every day is the
repeat.
same.
Weekend, you get off. So you don't get to make a phone call to your family. You don't get to see nobody. You're in this alone. And, it's taken everything you got to survive that.
Well, it would have to be, right? Like, so you don't get to exercise. You don't get to walk around. Like, you're literally caged. You're blocked in.
How long was this for?
6 weeks, man. And
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think it was 5.5, 6 weeks. And then, I'm 90-something kilo at the start. I'm like 80 kilo at the end, bro.
Yeah.
I'm just depleted because the stress, when you're stressed, it's another level. I'm fighting for your life.
Yeah.
And, I'm also uneducated, and I'm trying to understand legal jargon.
Yeah.
You're just behind the back foot on everything.
And you're on your own, right?
And
It's
you're
not
on
like
your own.
anyone's helping you.
Oh, no, you're on your own. And, I put myself there, I get it, but you're on your own, man. And
Yeah.
I put everything I had in that first trial, and I was kind of like, I've got nothing left, man. I just want to do the time. I wasn't even guilty yet. But my mind started to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, it defeated me.
But when we were chatting before, you got hold of a Gideon's Bible
Yeah.
during that period. How did you get your hands on a Bible? What transpired there?
Well, the Gideon's Bible that I had was this small Bible, and my mate got out 2 years before on bail.
Right.
And for some reason, he just gave me this Bible and rosary beads. Everyone in jail's got the rosary beads, And I said, oh, thanks, mate. And I just kept it because he was a good mate of mine. Never opened the thing, nothing. But then 2 weeks before the second trial, my mind was, my mind was starting to change, and I didn't know what was going on. But for some reason, I put my name down and requested for a Bible. And then about a week later, some woman just walks in, yells out my last name in the pod, and holds up the Bible. And I said, all right, got this Bible. It's an NIV thing. So then I start reading this thing, and I got no idea what I'm reading. I don't know what a chapter is. I don't know what a verse is. I don't know nothing. But I just kept reading this and talking to God I don't know how I'm even talking to God, but it was happening. So then I made this vow to God that I'm going to take this blue Gideon's Bible to my trial, and I read it every time, any chance I got. So I put the rosary beads on. I got dressed up in all my religious kit, right? Every day, and trial started. And no one knew I was doing that, but I just felt compelled. I just needed something because I didn't know how I'd get through this.
Was it just a clinging to hope thing, do you think?
Yeah. But the hope wasn't like to get out or anything. It was just...
There was something different.
There was something different. I don't know
I think
how
that's
to...
crazy. I mean, the first one you go through it on your own,
Yeah.
and the second one you don't.
No, it's
You're
like
not
I
alone,
knew I
like-
needed something,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
and God was who I'm taking.
Whether he knows it or not.
Yeah, like, I don't know how I knew it, but he's obviously put that in me. At the time, I didn't know what's going on. I've never spoke to God, except when things were really bad, and this is a really bad situation. So I go to trial, but I go this time armed up.
Vow that you're going to read this scripture.
And I did, man.
Whenever you did.
And I started, and I did. Got there, I got 2 hours to read it before court. So I'm just reading from the first page where it's like the index, and I'm like, turn that page. Chinese prayers are in it. I'm like, I don't know what that says. I go to the next one, and it's like Russian prayer or something. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? I find a prayer, and it's like the Lord's Prayer. I don't know that, so I just read this, and okay, don't know what that means, but I'm reading it. I'm just reading it, day in, day out. But something was unraveling with me, man. I'd be up in the court, in the dock all day long. Witness after witness would come. But I was getting spooked by the jury. I just felt the jury's not going to believe me. And there was just one particular woman in the jury, and I just was convinced that she doesn't believe me. I'm a liar. So this one woman, I don't know if God put her there or whatever happened, but she spooked me in a way that was like, it made me go deeper into the Bible. So I just kept reading, and
One woman you're telling me you lived this thug life.
Yeah, she scared me, man.
And you got scared of a woman sitting in the jury. I
never forget it, bro.
That is crazy.
And you know what? I've never said this to anybody.
Have you not?
I promise you, man. I've never said this to anybody.
And her scaring you makes you run to the Bible.
Well, I already had the Bible, but I was like, for me, I was looking for a way out. So I was like, she's the one that's helped me get out of this, but I had no idea how I'm going to get out of this.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right? So I'm reading this thing, and I'll never forget, I got this young bloke. So our cells are downstairs at the Supreme Court, and we've got glass.
Yeah.
So I could see the other cell. And this young bloke from juvie was there. He was only 17, but he's getting sentenced as an adult. And he's like, oh, bro, you got good size on you and that. I said, yeah, I train every day. And we started this relationship with this young kid, It reminded me of myself when I was there like that. And we're chatting, and he's watching me unravel in the cell every day. I'm talking to myself. I'm pleading like, you're weak. Like I'm losing it. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to God. And then he was like freaking out. It's all right, AJ, bro. Like, it's going to be okay. And I'm just in another world at times. Yeah. And then finally I found in the index, I'm looking at all the index, love, and it takes you page number of these verses. So I didn't have the verse. But for one particular day, it was like maybe 10 days in, I saw freedom. And it took me to the page number, and it was obviously John 8:31-32. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. I had no idea what I was reading. Just saw truth, saw freedom, and it just kept rolling around in my head. Ultimately, I said to God, what does this mean? What do you want me to do? And then this conviction just came over me one day. You're going to plead guilty. Yeah, and I remember I was pleading and yelling out to God and yelling at myself. And this young bloke was there. He was crying, man. And he was saying, AJ, don't do it, bro. Don't plead guilty. You can do this. You can just keep fighting. And I'm like, shut up, mate. I'm doing this. And he was there watching me, and I'll never forget it. And I made that decision. I remember when I came to the decision that God gave me. And he didn't talk to me. It wasn't a voice or anything like that. It was just this.
There's this connection. With freedom came truth, and truth came freedom. And so that's what it looked like for you. And in your mind, it was like, time to come clean.
I knew, man, that if they let me out, I had vengeance in my heart. And that was the big thing.
Yeah.
If you let me out,
you're going to go and clean up the mess.
Yes. And I'm coming back, or they're going to leave me dead out there. I don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt anyone anymore. I think that's why God said, he put it on my heart. This is the way.
So you then called down your lawyer. How did that look, man?
The morning tea happened. I said, Patrick, my solicitor, can you come down? I want to talk to you. He's like, yeah, all right. He comes down. Yeah, what's up? I said, man, I'm pleading guilty, eh? He's like, what? Like, literally, what? He's like, no, stop talking. You're sick. So he told the judge, Anthony's sick, go back to jail. So I go back to jail that night. I remember being on the truck, and there's five seats, or 10 men seating, 5 men facing each other, and 3 of those dudes were my mates at a separate trial. And one of them goes, AJ, you all right, man? I said, yeah, I'm good. He's like, nah, something's up with you. I said, oh, I'm pleading guilty tomorrow. And he's like, what? He said, give me that Bible. You're losing it.
He knew
Yeah.
something was going down. You kept reading the little blue Bible.
He's like, I said, no, you're not taking it. He's like, bro, give it to me. I go, no. And then the bloke next to him was a Muslim boy, and then the other one was a Christian guy. And they're like, why are you doing this? I said, oh, I've heard from God, I think, man. And my mate Nath, he's just going nuts. But the other two are like, if you've heard from God, you do what you got to do, bro. And I was like,
wow.
I said, well, I'm already going to do it. Went back next day. Patrick says, how are you? I said, good. I'm pleading guilty. No, you're not. And then for the next probably 3 or 4 hours, we're just going back and forth. The barrister's in there as well. The barrister was literally like going ape. And then my solicitor had to say to him ultimately, like, you need to step out. You're too aggressive. Like, this is not helping. And he left. Because he's like, I've put all this work in. We're in a winning position. You can't do this. Finally, they removed him. And then Patrick said, let's just chat. You know, I care about you. You're my mate. Because I've known he's represented me for a long time and my family and stuff.
So that other guy was just like more not necessarily interested in your well-being, just more interested in his win, right?
Yeah,
Like
his win, his money, his reputation.
Yeah. And he's a, up and coming, pretty good barrister. He's going to be senior counsel and stuff like that.
Yeah, caseload.
And he doesn't lose this guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's good at what he did. But so he's gone. And then me and Patrick are just talking, and he's like, all right, he goes, we're getting nowhere. And I said, well, I need to do what I got to do. And he said, all right, you need to admit what you've done in this crime to me. And then you'll have to sack me, and we'll abort the trial and we'll go again because I can't represent you anymore. So I unpack the events of the night that I remember. And then he was more angry. And he's like, well, now you have to sack me. We're going to go to the 3rd trial. I said, I'm not sacking you. We're not going to a 3rd trial. I'm pleading guilty. I'm in the fish tank thing, so through the perspex, he's on the other side. And I said to him, my whole life, I go, you know it. I said, no one accepts responsibility for what they are, what they've done. It's always someone else's fault. I go, today I'm going to break the cycle. And I'm going to plead guilty and show my family this is how you take responsibility. And it's going to stop now. I didn't know how I said that stuff.
Yeah.
And he sat back in his chair and he just started crying. He's like, AJ, I can't argue. But you're going to get 25 years or 20 years. I said, I don't care. I don't care if I get life. I don't care. Make it happen. And he said, look, the only way I can do this is like if I ask the DPP to at least alter the fact sheet, otherwise you will get a monster sentence. That's my condition, he says. I said, go do whatever you want to do. Just make it happen. He comes back down. They did give me a favourable fact sheet. I had to stand up and get arraigned late afternoon that day, which is put my plea back in, reverse the plea of not guilty to guilty. And the whole courtroom's capacity, victim's family, my family, police, and everyone is just looking at me like, they haven't seen me for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. They've seen me, but they can't talk to me. They're like, what is happening to him? I could see in their eyes. And they're just looking at me, and I stand up, and then I'm about to plead, and my mum just stands up and just says, you're not my son. You let down the family. And my brother dragged her out. She's high on heroin. And I just knew, this convinced me even more. Pled guilty. I said, I plead guilty. They take me back downstairs, and I just unraveled there. But it was peace, man.
What was that like when your mum stands up in court and berates you in front of the victim's family, in front of police?
It's probably the most impactful moment in my life from my mother. I've never been asked that question, Nath, but it summed my mum up. It summed her addiction up. It broke me. But it also gave me the strength to stand there and do what I had to do and what God called me to do in that moment. And then what inspires me even to this day to keep doing what I'm doing, man.
Yeah, when I heard you say that for the first time, I just in the sort of in the context of just God beginning to break down who you were in order to become who He wants you to be. I just you said that, and I was like, Ephesians 6 comes to my mind, and it's this idea that we battle not against flesh and blood, and the devil knew exactly where to hit you to sort of one last ditch attempt to keep you in darkness, to keep you in a place where it's like he knew God was doing something, and there's this element where he's like, well, watch what I can do. And just takes the brokenness that you've sort of been grown in and just uses that to hit you as hard as possible.
There's nothing in this world that would hurt me more is the impact of my mother.
Yeah.
And what she says.
Yeah.
It shaped my whole life.
Yeah. Crazy, man.
And yeah, you're spot on, man.
So what did that look like for you? So because you said the peace only lasted for a minute. So you're now there.
Yeah. I woke up the next day into the pod, and all the boys just like, what have you done? Like, AJ, I'm smiling, man. Like, the peace didn't leave me complete, but that moment I felt this peace I never felt before.
Okay.
But I woke up relieved and like, yep, I got a date, I got a goal. I was pretty happy, I was content. But I rang my mother the next morning, and she answered, and the jail message goes through, do you collect the call? Yep, bang, she answered, and then she just hung up.
And that's intentional, right? Like she didn't have to take that call.
No.
She took it so that you knew that she took it, and then she hung up.
I think she said hello, and then she just hung up, man. And then it was on then.
Wasn't.
Yeah, I became something I wasn't proud of, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I went all in, and I said, this is what I am. I'm a killer, well, I'm going to act like one. Went on this cycle of destruction.
What happened to the Gideon's Bible, mate?
Kept it. He was there with me always.
But you never read it?
I didn't read that, but I kept reading the other Bible, the bigger one.
Even when things were going as loose as...
Yeah, because the first 6 months at Lisco, I was in a two-man cell, just me and another bloke. So everyone knew I made this call, and I told everybody that I heard from God, and everybody knew. But I could only read for a few minutes at a time. My attention span was like 0. And eventually I tried to read it every day, but then I was kind of embarrassed to read it in front of him and what we were doing. And so if he went to a visit, I'd maybe get it out, or if he's in the shower, I'd get it out. But I was just kind of ashamed of it. I wasn't ashamed of that, but I was ashamed of myself, like reading that. I made this vow to God, well, when I get a one-man cell, I'll read. And I got the one-man cell about 6 months in and tried to fulfill that promise. But I kept going to chapel every Sunday.
Right.
No matter what.
From the time...
From the time I got to Lisco.
Yep.
Yeah, I never went until that point. When I got to Lisco, I went every Sunday. And everyone's like, what are you going to church for, bro? Like, you're this and you're going to church. But I just kept going. And then I tried to read the Bible at times, and then I went back and forth probably 6-7 months where I put it down, pick it back up. And eventually, that was it. I made this vow. I watched this TV evangelist, and I said, if you read the Bible for 30 days, for 30 minutes, you'll be hooked and you can create a good habit. So I did that, and I've never looked back. And I made myself, and I even have my timer there on my watch, like 27 minutes, 27 minutes. I'm just reading 20 minutes. Like, I just disciplined myself, man. Like, I'm going to read this for this amount of time every single day. And then that eventually just started to happen, even while the chaos was going. That was my only outlet. My physical training, because all you do is just train. And then the Bible was just slowly doing what it was doing to me. Yeah.
When was a moment where it went from just reading the Bible to a genuine encounter with Jesus? What was that?
It was about 2015. So I got to Lisco 2012. So it's about 2.5 years later, where I was starting to build a relationship, because I understood that the Heavenly Father was my Father. I believed it. And I understood it. And I understood who Jesus was at that time. You know, it's his son, he's his savior. He came to die for me. And I remember I was listening to my Hillsong CD on my Discman. We've got Discmans in there. And for whatever reason, I pulled the CD out that day, put it in the Discman, but they had the sinner's prayer on the back of where you put the CD in. And I always heard it on the TV evangelists and that, give your life, and they do these prayers. But for whatever reason, I looked at it and I said, I haven't done that. Is this what I got to do? And no one knew. I never was taught by anyone about Jesus.
So no conversations with chaplains, nothing. This is
me and the Bible, me and God.
Yep.
Were you in the space of chaos still as well?
Oh, yeah.
All of that still at play? Yeah.
But just in my cell was my isolation time. And I was always digging, man. I was digging to change and digging to know why I am what I am. And on this particular day in January in 2015, I can't remember what day it was, but it was in January. I read it and I got on my knees and I gave my life to Jesus that day. And I forget it, man. I know what cell I was in. I know the number. I know everything. And I woke up that day, the next day, and I was like, wow. Like I knew I was saved, man, And
it's a crazy thing, hey, when you wake up the next day and you just know you're saved.
Yeah.
That's the same as my experience. I didn't pray a sinner's prayer. No one led me through that stuff.
Yeah.
The night before, I'd read the Bible. I read about Jesus. I was in the shower going, okay, if you're real, show me. And same thing, I woke up the next day and I knew I was saved.
Yeah.
I just knew there was this peace.
That's what I knew.
There was a joy, but no one. This whole idea that we've got to lead someone through the teaspoon prayer, that thank you, sorry, please prayer, and that everything's got to be mechanicalized and structured, and everything's got to be. It's almost like a potion. We've got to say the right words at the right time, but that's not how He works.
Nah.
Like this salvation, this moment of confession, this moment, however that looks, this moment of just crying out to the Lord, saying, "My life is yours.
Yep.
I'm living for you." No matter however that looks, man. I same thing. You just wake up the next day and you're like,
I knew
different.
I knew.
Yeah.
I'm saved, man.
Crazy.
Didn't know what that meant. Didn't know what's going to happen, and then it just got crazy. Yeah. Like my life changed, man.
How did it change? What when you say it changed from that moment? Like,
well,
what did it look like?
Like I remember being in there and someone said to me, and I was doing some drugs, and someone said to another bloke, they got on and they said to another bloke, "Oh yeah, who'd you get it off?" And they go, "Oh, I got it off the Christian drug dealer." And someone said that to me. I said, "What?" I go, they called me that. And he's like, "Yeah." And we're laughing. I said, and from that moment on, I stopped. I said, I'm not going to be called that.
It's not because you necessarily, it's because you dishonor God by associating those two things, right?
No, I'm not that. So that was like starting to happen, little things like that. But then in January, I get saved. And in April, I've been walking the Lord, only a few months, as a saved man. But then I'm still thick in jail politics, and I had a massive fight in April with one particular guy that it escalated, and it didn't crack off on that day, but they came to kill me, a group of men, and they moved to my unit and they came to kill me. And it was just pending for weeks and weeks, and I finally just bit the bullet and said, we've got to do it. I confronted one guy, and it escalated, but it didn't happen. So they locked us in as normal at 3:30 in the afternoon. And as soon as that door closed, Satan was just there. And Jesus was like right there like on each side of me. I could just feel it. Satan, that evil thoughts was like, you know what you got to do. You know you got to go. He's telling me, everyone's watching you. All the boys are watching you. The screws are watching you. Everybody's watching you. You need to do what you need to do. Otherwise, and he's just talking all this negativity, all this evil to me. And then Jesus, I could feel like another voice in my head saying, you're the righteousness of God now, man. You live for me. You've surrendered to me. So this went on. 18 hours later, you're going to get out of that cell at 8:30. For 18 hours, man, I just had this spiritual battle. And I was going back, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Then God said, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Just this wrestle, man. I woke up at 6 o'clock or 5:30, and I could hear those boys. They were coming for me. They were up. I opened Ephesians chapter 6, the armor of God. And man, I just sat with that. I read it and read it and read it. I said, God, I don't want to be what they want me to be, what they think I'm going to be when I walk out there. And then I just felt fear and anxiety kind of go. And I said out loud, I'm just going to defend myself. And it was calm. And then at 8 o'clock or 8:15, about 25 corrective officers come in and they start cracking the doors. So each man will walk single file from downstairs and then downstairs into the yard to go to work. But I'm a sweeper, which means I clean the facility that we live in. So I stay there. I'm on the top level. The cell opens. I just step out. I look. I go to the rubbish bins as I always do to tie the rubbish bins up, get that ready. And I see the 3 or 4 men creeping behind other men and behind officers. And then one's got a bucket and he's getting real close. And I thought, okay, this guy's for me. And had an angry look on his face. And I just ran at him. And he just threw this bucket of hot liquid in my face. And it just melted my face. And I couldn't see. And then it was on. They was attacking me, you know. And all I could do was defend, but I couldn't see. So I was just defending the best I could. Eventually I got this guy to the ground. And then officers are already there, obviously. So it's going nuts. And then eventually I had one officer holding me down. And I just said, please let me up. Please let me up. I can't see. I just want to rub my eyes. He's like, please, mate, just calm down. And he knew me by name. He's like, and he gave me my arms and I rubbed my eyes and for however long, and I could just started to see a little bit. And I could finally see again. And I looked down and all my skin was on my hands and the officer's hands of my face.
Whoa.
He goes,
the skin of your face is on his hands.
I go, what's that? And he goes, it's your skin. And I was like, oh. And as I stood up, he just stand against the wall, AJ, stand against the wall. As I've stood up, I just looked this way and I seen another bloke come up the stairs and have another crack at me. And that's when I tried to run at him and then I got tackled again. And then they've thrown me into the shower. They said, this guy's got to go strip me naked, put me in my shower. And I just got the cold water on me for like 10 minutes. And then female walks in, officer, and then she just starts screaming. And she's like, he's been stabbed multiple times. And I'm like, what? I had no idea. I looked down and just like, there's blood everywhere.
Pincushion.
Yeah, like, and I was like, oh. And I just started laughing. Like, I got adrenaline. I'm just like, they just think I'm mad. And
you are, bro.
Yeah, I'm mad, yeah. And then, and then they came and they take me to the nurse, I'm handcuffed, they take me to Lithgow Hospital. And they're like, mate, you're going to have severe scarring on your face. And they ultrasound all the wounds in my body. And what's crazy was I had like 11 marks on me where they tried to stab me, but only one went in. And only one went in like 2 mil.
Right.
And they got me out of the ultrasound and cuffed to the bed and I'm just laughing. And the officer's like, what are you laughing at, mate? I said, nothing. But what I was laughing is that I was like, God, you are real. Like, you are real. Like, you saved my life. Like, and I was like, and what happened then, they took me back to the jail at 12 o'clock or so. And I got to the clinic and I said, I'm going back to my unit. You're not taking me anywhere else but back to my unit. And they're like, yeah, you're going back, AJ. I was like, oh, okay, sweet. I thought they're going to try to put me in protective custody or whatever's going to happen. I go, I'm not going there. I'm ready to fight. And I'm bandaged up in a sling, get back. The officer comes into my cell, one of the bosses, and he says, I don't know what happened today because one of the biggest dog acts I've ever seen. But the way that you reacted to us and you didn't fight against us is the reason you're still here. Have a good day, Mr. Jones. I said, all right. And then one of my
that's a pretty big moment, right?
Oh,
like
massive.
for the guys in blue to respect you in that moment, like that's a
that was massive, man. Like, and he did it with no one around. He came into my cell behind.
It wasn't a show.
Yeah, I walked in and I turned and he was there, and I'll never forget it. And then about an hour later, my mate came from the next unit who'd been mentoring me, and he taught me how to box. Like, he's like a father figure to me, this man.
Yeah.
And he sat me down with another guy, but he just sat me down and he said, AJ, man, I love you, eh? I never tell you what to do. But he goes, you can punch your way through this sentence. But he goes, look what happened today. They tried to kill you. And they bring how many to do it? He goes, or they're going to put you in segregation. They're going to medicate you because you're ultra violent and you're going to turn into a vegetable in there. He goes, I've been in 17 years, man. He goes, I could have punched my way through this. But he goes, this, you have to survive. You've got some choices to make, man. And it was like God spoke through this man. So that was the turning point for my life. January gave my life.
April, you got your life.
And April, I got my life, man. It humbled me. It took the chip off my shoulder. You know, I was arrogant, man. Like,
How old were you at this time?
just at 15, I'm about 29.
Yeah, okay.
And that was the turning point.
Yeah. Okay.
And it wasn't like everything to stop, but that was
That was the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Things started to, and this is what's crazy, right? Like everyone talks about the fact that, and I find this hard in discipleship.
Yeah.
We see people come to faith, and then there's this expectation that all of a sudden their life becomes structured and organized and perfect and clean
And holy.
and holy
Yeah, and
and
holy.
righteous in every element. And
Yeah.
and we actually forget this idea around discipleship that it's the Holy Spirit who does his work in
Yep.
us over a long period, over our whole life in this constant, gracious manner of internal transformation that begins in our heart, that moves into our mind, that only then begins to manifest in our outward actions. There's this deeper process, and I think the church as a whole, we think about discipleship in a sterilized space, where we don't walk with grace to recognize that to come out of darkness and into light, there is this constant process of shadow that also needs to be worked out.
Yeah.
Right. And I just think it's in what you say, AJ, there is, I think the risk I hear in this is that some of our listeners go, what an amazing moment of transformation. Isn't God good? And he is. And it is an amazing moment of transformation.
Yep.
But we actually fail to see the real beauty is not just in the moment of salvation, but the real beauty is found in this ongoing life of transformation, of becoming more and more like Jesus. And so that moment started where you got your life in April. But as you just said, it was a
messy,
process. It's
man.
messy.
It's the messiest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, that's the bread and butter. That's the heartbeat of discipleship. And I learnt that. And God had to give me that time. Like, being isolated for that long, I'm thankful for every single day he gave me.
Which is a crazy thing to say. Like, I'm sure there's some people hearing that and going, what do you mean, mate? There's no way you're thankful for every moment.
100% they think that.
But what you're saying, I can see the authenticity.
I
right?
needed the 14 years.
But you got to look back to see that.
Yeah. Oh, even in the moment. Like,
Even in that moment.
I knew I had to do my time. I knew I was, God put on my heart early, like, you have to leave this place changed.
Yeah.
Otherwise stay.
Right.
And I contemplated staying forever.
Yeah, okay.
That's how serious it was for me. I for about a year solid, that was in my mind. To do something.
To stay. Okay.
And I mean stay forever.
Yeah, I get you.
Because I'm like, I'm not walking back out there the same man with nothing to offer. I've got all these people fighting for me. At the beginning, I fought for them. But then that wasn't enough. Because when God came into my life, it's like, you got to fight for yourself first, man. I've saved you. You got to fight for yourself, because you can't do what I'm going to call you to do if you can't love yourself. And it's all got to change within you. And I was like, okay. And I read this quote in 2014, and that is, God isolates a man in order to reveal himself. Coming from a footy background, quotes and inspirational things, they send me to war. Like, so I was like, wow. And it just changed my life, man.
So you get your life, right? What did that look like then for you to really pursue Jesus and allow the Spirit to bring internal transformation?
Oh, man. Like, my anger was, I don't think I met an angrier man in prison. And people that walked with me and knew me would agree. Like I made those guys look like they were happy guys. I was so angry, man, and I didn't want to be like that. And then the anger was so much hate, and I kept pleading with God. I go, why am I like this? Why do I hate?
Hate for what? Hate again.
I hated.
I mean, we spoke about your anger in the early space, which was this your upbringing, the life that you were living.
Yeah.
Things had shifted now. Obviously, you were in a different space.
Yeah.
So what were you now?
What I hated was, I hated drugs. Like I hated the heroin. I hated that type of stuff because it triggered me to my mum and dad, and I would just take it out on them.
Yeah.
And that's something I've had to repent over, man. Like I wasn't a good guy to these guys. But when God started to change and the questions that I was asking God, He was giving me answers. And then I got baptized, and I pleaded with my mum on the day I got baptized. She came visit me in the afternoon. And my sister was there, my newborn niece, and I said, for whatever reason, I didn't plan it. But I said, you've seen what God has done in me and what I've declared to everybody who I belong to now. I don't want you to say much, Mum. I need you to stop using needles, eh? I said, I'm not going to bury another junkie. And for the first time in my life, she didn't react. She usually just comes at me and denies it. But she just sat there, and I said, I've got 10 to go, Mum, and you're not going to make it. And I won't go to your funeral. I won't even ask to go. I said, please, get clean. And even my sister chimed in. We didn't plan it, and she just listened. And I rang the next day, and I said, Tash, to my sister, how'd Mum go with that? She goes, well, we got to Central Station. And she went straight to the cross. And I was like, okay. But then about 6 weeks later, my mum came visit me. She says, son, I'm 6 weeks clean of heroin.
Wow.
And I was like, I've never known my mum clean, man.
Wow.
You know, like that was the first time I seen my mum clean, man. And God gave me salvation. But what happened for me when she got clean was like the biggest angry, shadow was taken off me. And God said to me, stop hating your mum and the men around you because they're mine. And I was hating them because of what they put in their arms or what they used. So that moment allowed me to see my mum for who she was and not hate her, but hate the drug.
Yeah.
Changed the game for me. And then that's how I started to love my brothers in there. It took time, but it changed my whole perspective and took the veil that I used to look through, that lens, it took it away.
I mean, in reality, the way you coped with your brokenness and your upbringing was through your anger and
my
violence,
aggression.
And the way they cope with whatever brokenness and upbringing that they were confronted
I judged them
with.
for it, man.
Yeah, there's a crazy
like,
thing. I mean, and even that, you're speaking to your mom and the understanding that maybe there's a brokenness in her own upbringing that led her to that place.
And I could never see that.
Yeah.
You're weak, you're this, you're that, they are as well. And that's not fair, but that's the way I operated.
Yeah.
And then God
and then you look through the lens of the gospel, and all of a sudden,
and then He changed everything for me.
In my mind, it's like the passage in 2 Corinthians 5, that in Christ we're now a new creation. We no longer see others the way we once saw them.
Yeah, that happened for me, bro.
Yeah.
Over time.
Yeah.
But that was the point.
Yeah.
And I went from despising these men who were just me.
Yeah.
To loving them. To serving them. I didn't always get it right. I got heaps of wrong. But I was able to do that for the years until home,
Yeah.
But
then you start a theological degree.
Yeah.
Like while you're in prison. So this transformation takes place. Like this is a long-term transformation.
This is 10 years.
It's 10 years,
This
right?
is 10 years, man.
How on earth did you start getting to a point where you're like, man, I want to study theology. Like I want to go to Bible college. Like, how did you even know Bible college existed?
I saw it on a TV evangelist, and it had a testimony of a Kiwi guy. He was a New Zealand guy, and he was a gangbanger in New Zealand, and he found God, and he goes, then I went to Bible college. And I was like, Bible college. And then he goes, I'll become a minister or pastor. And I felt the call to be a pastor in like 2014. I felt God say that to me. And then about months after, I watched his testimony. On the Sunday morning, as I did, I watched all the TV evangelists one after the other. And I saw, okay, I gotta go to Bible college.
And get my teeth bleached, get a white coat.
All that
you
stuff.
know.
I'm like, how do I do that? I was laughed at God. I laughed when he called me, and I laughed at even the Bible college thing. I was like, oh, whatever. And but then from that day, I started trying to get to Bible college. And I never forget, I went for a visit one day, and my brother's fiance at the time and one of her mates came and visit me. And they're like, what are you going to do with all your time? I said, I'm thinking about studying, eh? And they go, oh, yeah, what are you going to study? And I go, theology. And, man, they laughed in my face and at the top of their lungs, crying, laughing, and all the visits are watching me. I was, like, so offended.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
sorry to laugh, but I can see it from their perspective.
You know, I'm just like, the worst thing you can do is challenge me. And they did challenge me. And I was like, all right.
Well, I'm on.
It was like God. I said, yeah, all right. And now I've rang them both, and they've supported me still. And I said, do you remember that conversation? And they both go, yes, we do. I go, you started this, and now I've got it.
Little fire, yeah.
And they're like, we're so proud of you. But like, I go, you did that. You spurred me. I just went on that mission.
So what did it look like for you? You worked your way to a year 10 equivalency of education. You're now undertaking, or you're trying to get in to do a university level degree. Yep. How did that happen?
Yep.
And who on earth helped you through it? Because there's two guys who have done theological college. You know it's hard work. It's incredibly hard work. And you need people around you to support you.
Well, the journey started like 2016, where I asked my chaplain at Lithgow, I want to do some biblical studies, because they gave me this crossroads thing where it's kind of like very basic. And I go, I'm beyond that already. My knowledge of the Bible was growing, and I was like, nah, I want something deeper. He said, I've got this Catholic monastery, I don't know what it was. You can study they'll give you like a theological opportunity to study, but they'll wait, because we can't pay for it, you're not going to get accredited for it. I go, we'll just start that. But he goes, I'll only start you if you can get some more guys to start. So the guys that will come to the chapel with me, I got 5 guys off the bat, so you're just studying with me, eh? And they're like, yeah, all right. So I got 5 of us to sign up to this Catholic college, Broken Bay Institute, I think. And we started, doing writing essays. And I've never wrote an essay in my entire life, and all by hand. And I remember showing my mate one day a draft that I wrote, and he just laughed in my face. He said, bro, are you serious? I go, what? He goes, bro, this doesn't make sense. You don't have a full stop. You don't have anything. He goes, did you go to school? And I go, no. I didn't go to school, man. He's like, you can't hand this in. So then he started being a tutor for me. Wow. And then I pulled in another dude and another guy. And then I had like 3 different guys that just helped me write these essays. I had all the knowledge. I was starting to develop it now. I could explain something to you, but I couldn't write it. So that started that. But then we did that for about 18 months. And then I moved to another prison. And I said, well, I need to can that because I need to get a credit. I need to get this to prove that I've done this. So then I asked the chaplain there to get me into Bible college. And he tried, and then it failed. It was in Gold Coast, and it just didn't happen. Then I got another chaplain to ask, and they said they could help me out, but then that turned. So for like 4 or 5 years, I'm trying to get into Bible college, just couldn't do it. And then I got moved finally from maximum security to the minimum security prison, finally, after 11 years in Maxo. And then went to Windsor and met this guy. And I never forget, I went to the first chapel service there, and there was a dude preaching, and I never heard preaching like this in jail. Like, it was like seeing you guys preach, right? I've never seen that in jail. It's just this usually a chaplain preaching this, the way they preach. Well, they weren't even preaching, I would say. But
reciting something,
right?
Yeah.
And this guy's just, boom. He's talking about, I think, Acts 5, the beggar at the beautiful gate. And how Jesus healed him, or Peter healed him, sorry. And he got up and You know, he every day he took himself to the beautiful gate, knowing that someday maybe he'll be healed, you know. And whatever was just speaking to me, I never forget what he was saying. And I went up to him after. I said, I want to do what you do, man. He's like, who are you? I go, I'm AJ. He's like, all right. I'm not the chaplain here. I'm just the guest preacher here. And then the chaplain met him. And then they just probably freaked out on me a little bit. And then I broke my leg playing basketball. So I couldn't go to work in the jail. So I just went to the chaplain's office every day and sat there with this guy named Wally making coffee and unpacked my story. And over a 6-week period, he's like, yeah, you all right? He goes, I've done my intel on you. I've asked other prisoners, inmates about you. I've asked other officers. He goes, you're the real deal. I said, yeah. He's like, I want to help you get into Bible college. So that guest preacher was Phil Evans. So he talked to Morling College.
Yeah.
Wally wrote an awesome reference for me. Then the next, 2, 3, 4 weeks later or something, I had 5 Morling staff come out to the chapel and interview me. And I'll never forget it, man, sitting there. I'm in the centre and they're all around me. And I had Wally there and Phil as well. So
7 of them looking at you.
And it was like, and they're asking me about what God's done, what he's doing. And I kept saying how blessed I am to have you guys here, you know. And then I remember this lady said to me, I'll never forget it. She's like, AJ, you keep saying that you're blessed, like that we've come here. She goes, I want to tell you something, mate. We're blessed to meet you and come here. And I never forgot what she said. And when they left, about a week later, we got the
acceptance letter.
The acceptance letter, but you got to write this essay.
Yeah.
And if you can complete this, we'll accept you.
Right, that's a different process.
On the Trinity, right?
On the Trinity. Yeah. Just like, such a straightforward, easy theological doctrine to talk through.
I'm like, so Wally gives me this stuff. I'm like, yep. Go back to my unit. I'm in an Asian pod, and I just got me and another white dude there. And they're all good guys, awesome guys. And I've told them, I need your help. So like 5 of us write this essay about the essence of the Trinity. I'm giving them all the information that I know. I'm reading all the books, but they help me write because I can't write books.
Are these guys Christian guys?
No.
Oh,
They're not
right.
Christian guys, mate.
So good.
But they're educated. They've had like college degrees and
sure.
stuff. I'm like, I said, I need your help. And
Every part of me wants to make a joke right now, but I'm not.
We're all into this, and we get it, and I get accepted, man. And I start Bible college.
Was it Chris by 5s all around?
It was
so
insane.
good.
It was insane.
Wow.
It was it was crazy. It was a moment, man, and just the overflow from that was crazy. But yeah.
So did Wally then like tutor you, help you through the next? So how many years were you doing?
I did that for 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
I did an advanced diploma first.
Okay.
God just put an army of people, and I was able to complete an advanced diploma whilst in custody, and then did the second half of that outside. But
so you did the second half of your advanced diploma outside?
Pretty much. 3/4 of it was inside, and the last quarter
of your bachelor.
Of my bachelor, yeah.
Let's dig a little, right?
Yeah.
So you've been incarcerated by the time you're released, what, 14 years?
14 years straight.
What age are you then?
I'm 38 when I got out last year.
Yeah, okay.
In June last year.
So you just got out June last year, right? So 14 years you served for the murder.
Yep.
Right? You've done 3/4 of your theological degree inside. You leave prison and you move to campus?
Yeah, I moved to Bible college. Which is crazy.
So Morling
Baptist College, where I study.
They gave you a residency.
They gave me a residence, man. They've changed my life, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What did that look like? To leave prison, for starters, and then let's deal with that. And then what did that look like then to study free?
Well, just to take it back a step, the last 14 months of my sentence, I got the opportunity to do works release. So I got to do study release. So I would go to college back and forth to jail.
Okay.
So I'd study during the day and go back to jail.
So you were on campus for the last 14 months?
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. But then going back to jail every night.
Okay.
So that was an awesome thing. You can either go to work or you go to study. So I got a taste of what it was like of studying semi-free. But I remember the first probably 4 weeks of going there, I was overwhelmed completely. I'm sitting in classrooms, they're talking how they talk. I got no idea what's going on. I've never used the internet, bro. I had to learn how to use the internet, how to use a laptop, like all these things was going on. And I remember one day I started getting real sick, like a fever and stuff. And my young mate was studying at Macquarie University, and we'd meet up and we'd go back to jail. And we got on the train. I said, bro, I'm gone. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to faint or something. I've got to get off at the next station. And you can't go off route because they think that you're deviating.
Yeah.
I said, you just keep going, man. I've got to get off. And he goes, I'm not leaving you. I go, you're going. I'm getting off. The door's open. I step out and that's it. All I remember then was I woke up in his arms with vomit all over me. And these one woman and one man, like just talking to me. And my mate was crying and I've cracked my head open and everything. I've got vomit everywhere. And he's like, and I've come to and they're ringing the jail. And I go, stop ringing the jail. We're all right. And then they said, is he all right? They gave me a whole pack of chewing gum, this lady, I'll never forget. And she's just this blonde lady. I couldn't see her face. I was just gone. And then they left. It's
an angel.
It's just a halo. I just thought it's like the funniest thing with that. Like in my head, it's like spew all over you, but she's like, your breath stinks, bro.
It's like an ad.
Here's a bit of chewing gum. That's right. That'll fix everything.
It was the pressure. I didn't know how to release it, I think. Because the next day I woke up, I was sweet. But I remember like getting back in the cell and my mate was like, bro, I thought you were going to die, eh? And I remember like breaking down in the cell just with God. I said, man, like, I felt like I was close to dying there. Like, what's going on? Like, help me here. Mm. And it was just a moment. And then he just comforted me and I didn't have that moment ever again. But like that was the stress and
of learning.
And that's how it came out.
I do want to ask you a question that's a little bit at a tangent, actually, but I just thought about it. You go down for a pretty serious crime.
Oh, did you define a pretty serious crime?
Serious.
I want to know what a serious crime is.
You experience Jesus and you experience this transformation, but I guess I'm interested in engaging with the victim's family and what that looks like, and how. That has that taken place?
Yeah, that's a good tangent.
Is that taken place? What does that look like?
I want us to come back to that other component, but that's a cracker tangent.
Sorry, I just
no, it's good.
2012, got sentenced, got to Lithgow. 2013, 6 months later, I remember I was digging a hole gardening in the jail. I'll never forget it. And this guy came up and said, restorative justice want to meet you. And I go, who are they? He's like, oh, they work for the victims' families. And the family have reached out and they want to sit with you and ask you why you killed their son. And I said, I'm not doing that. I've just pled guilty. Isn't that enough? And I was really angry, man.
Yeah.
I said, get away from me. I'm not doing that. This guy left. I'll never forget it. About, weeks later or months later, they call me to visits, and if you have a legal visit, they call you up there. It was during the week, and I get there, I go, what do I want here? And they're like, oh, someone wants to see you. I go, who? I thought it was police or something, new charges, I don't know. And it was this dude from Restorative Justice, young guy, probably the same age as me or younger. I said, why are you here? I told you guys don't come here. And then he was like, oh, no, but we want to talk to you. And I said, well, I don't want to meet with the family. I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready. And I got 10 years to go and I'm not in a good place right now. I can't do that. And but then he just started pressing me more. And then he started asking about other individuals in the crime. And I go, why are you asking about these other guys? And I got real defensive then. And then he's like, saying them by name. And I'm like, I'm not saying details anything to you, man. And then I said, if you don't leave, like, we got heated.
Yeah.
And he was coming like, so if you want someone to do something, the way he was doing it wasn't the way.
Yeah.
And I just left. And then about 6 months later, I got same deal again. I went and met this guy, another guy, and he was like a real beautiful guy. And he apologised on that man's behalf. I'm so sorry how this man treated you. the way he went about things. And then I told him, he kept asking about other people. And he was like, he empathized and he said he's completely wrong, that guy. And he should never have done that like that. But he goes, will you sit with me and let's have a chat? I go, yeah, man, no worries. And then I told him where I was at. And he goes, yeah, that's cool. How about I come see you in 6 months? And I go, yeah, you can come see me in 6 months. And then we began this every 6 months type of thing. And then I said, man, I can't, and this is what happened. I said, I can't tell the family, I can't meet the family, I can't look the mum and dad in the eye and tell them that why I killed their son, because I don't even know why. Because I go, I don't have any memory of the crime. Like I can't tell you what happened.
Yeah.
I blacked out.
Yeah.
I know I'm involved in it. I don't know how I did it. I don't know what I did. I said, I can't look at his parents and say that. I go, that's not good enough. I'm not giving him anything. And he was like, man, he's like, just be you, AJ. You're enough. He goes, you're the most honest guy I've ever met. I remember him saying that to me. I was like, yeah, but I don't have the answers, bro. And then he's like, just think about it. And then, like, he came back again and I made the decision. I remember sitting on video link with him and I said, yeah, I'll do it.
Because like you would have then become a Christian. You're like a genuine follower of Jesus.
So like
by the time all of those months have passed,
Jesus is changing me, man.
He's changed you at that point.
Yeah, and I've repented for what I did and pled to God.
So what year are we in now when you
This
sort
is
of
about
going, okay.
2016.
Yeah,
2013
So this is
to
when you
2016, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you're kind of even starting theological college.
You're
at this
thinking
point.
about theology. You're in the Catholic
I've given my
monastery
life
kind
to
of
Jesus.
space.
I'm doing all that. I'm running Bible studies and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
I remember saying, I'm in, man. And then the next day, I had a visit from my brother and one of my other mates. And he said, and I refused to appeal the case from day one. I pled guilty. I'm not a hypocrite. That's it. And then my brother pleaded with me this day. He goes, I went behind your back and I've been talking to the lawyers. And they reckon that there's an opportunity where we can get our way back into the courts and appeal this. And I go, bro, I pled guilty. Like, I can't. And he's like, and it was just after I'd been stabbed and all that, And it frightened my brother. He thought I was like invincible, And it scared him, I think. And he thought, no, I got to get him out. And
you can understand why though. Right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
From a brother going behind your back like that, I can get that.
I get it, and I wasn't mad at him.
Yeah.
And I was really changing to another person. And he said to me, bro, please do it for me. And I was like, oh, all right, man. I said, I got to pray for it. I go, I pray now, right? He's like, yeah, I know you pray. I go, I got to pray and I got to ask God. So I rang him the next day. I said, I'll do this for you, man. And I had a meeting. I got an email sent to the man from Restorative Justice. And I said, listen, I can't do this for the family. I've got to renege, man. I'm sorry. But I can't do this when an appeal process is happening. That's the rules. He said, no, you're completely right. I said, but what I will do, when this is done, I'll call you, email you somehow, and I'll sit.
I'll do what I need to do.
I'll do what I need to do. I promise you that. And he said, okay. And then an appeal process happened, and that went for years, man. Years and years, all the way to 2022.
Wow.
Where that almost killed me. And but in 2022, we finally we can't move on, we can't do anything. And I was with Wally at that time, the chaplain at Windsor, and I said, do you know this man named Terry? He's like, yeah, I know him. I go, can you email him? He emails him in front of me in the office and says, hey, I'm here, guy AJ, do you remember him? He wants to talk to you. 6 years after the fact.
Wow.
And he says, I remember AJ. And a week later, he came out. And then he started crying because you held
to your word.
Your word, bro. I said, I'm here, man. How do we do this? And then we couldn't get to an arrangement because it came out through the appeal process and all this type of stuff. He goes, there's uncertainty of who did what and all this kind of stuff. So he goes, it's better off if we don't meet with the family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, okay. And whatever happened then, I was about to walk out the door and he said, AJ. I said, yeah. He goes, in all the years that I worked with you, I never saw you smile. I said, oh, yeah. He goes, bro, you haven't stopped smiling, hey? I said, Jesus, man. And he was crying. He goes, bro, it's night and day what's happened to you. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever did you end up ever meeting the family? Have you end up ever writing a letter or?
No, because I only can do that through restorative justice.
Okay.
It's a full
process.
and there's restrictions and everything, right? So we're just at a standpoint now where when I got out, parole came and saw me and asked, the family said, they don't want to meet you at the moment. It's okay. All they want to know, are you the real deal? I'll never forget it. It was when I just about 6 weeks getting out, and this lady said, she was from restorative justice. She goes, I've met you. I know you're the real deal. She goes, but they want to know, are you becoming a pastor? Have you gone to Bible college? Have you done all these things that they've been hearing about in jail? And she goes, I know they are. I said, but do you give me permission to go tell the family that you are this man now? I'm like, yeah, of course. And that's what happened, yeah. So that was the last time I heard of it.
When you come off parole,
Yeah.
when it's all said and done, is there a hope that you might sit with that family?
Yeah.
Is there, or at least a willingness to sit with that family?
There's a willingness for me always.
Yeah.
At the first time, it wasn't because I was full of hate.
Yeah,
I was
sure.
just, I wasn't.
It was early on in the
couldn't do it,
process.
man. There's no way. But yeah, for sure. You know, who am I to deny a mother and father and family of some closure, man? You know, I don't know if I can bring closure to them, but I'm open to that.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, right?
There's no such thing, man.
At the end of the day, it's not your job, right? Like, it's a complicated space, and I think it's difficult. But the truth of the matter is that that's something that God can only do in other people's lives, right? Like,
For sure.
we just become tools of what He's doing.
And what drives me is that if they do hear about me, which they have, they hear about the man I am now.
Yeah.
And that I'm pursuing something much bigger than myself, and that their son didn't die in vain, you know? Like, that's my mission. And He's always with me in my mind because He died for nothing, and for some reason I was spared.
You're on your way out. You did 14 months sort of traveling to and from university. Yeah. So you get out and you do your last little stint.
Yeah.
What does freedom feel like?
Yeah.
Oh, bro, I'll never forget it. I remember the night before, I said to God, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm not going to be stressed. And when I wake up, I'm going to walk out. I was on my knees. I made a vow to be on my knees for the rest of my life before I go to sleep. I made that vow to God. I knew that would be the last time I'm on my knees in that place. So I instantly went to sleep. And I'll never forget it. Woke up and I went to Philippians 4. That peace that transcends your mind, your heart. And I've read that for 12 years. But now I'm experiencing it. I walked out of that place. I woke up that morning with no anxiety, no stress, no nothing, man. Wally met me at my gate and he said, are you all right, bro? Okay, yeah. He goes, I've never seen this before. I said, man, I'm totally fine, eh? I'm ready to go. All my work has been done, and what God has done, He's prepared me well for this, and I'm going to go. And I stayed in that like space of that peace for like 2 weeks, man. He just prepared me, and then He gave me the gift of that for that couple of weeks, where I just settled in. And even Wally, he's been a prison chaplain for 25 years, and he's like, I've never seen anyone just transition like this. He goes, but this proves what God can do in someone who says yes and opens their heart to be prepared by Him. And
so you went straight to Morling?
Straight to Morling, man.
Yeah.
I went straight from Windsor prison. He goes, what do you want to do first? I said, I want to go to Mount Druitt, get a haircut. And when I got a haircut, had something to eat, and we drove to the college, and it was one of the, what do they call it, the gathering, or when all the guys...
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Well, yeah,
assembly.
The assembly council.
So
stuff.
assembly's going, and, you know, I had Wally there. I had one of my mentors, Kel, there. I had two other men that I met on the way. LT and Steve Stokes, he's in his Brotherhood gang, bike Christian gang, or Christian motorcycle club, and they met me at the door. They came in, they blessed my apartment.
Yeah.
They gave me gifts, welcomed me home. So like I walked out to 5 or 6 key men who are going to invest in me and love me and walk with me.
How good is Kel Willis, mate?
Oh, bro.
So just for your context, so Nick, so Kel Willis, I believe, one of the most influential men in the Baptist movement or across the board. He has this way when you sit with him and kind of you ask questions in this way, like a real kind of older father figure kind of way.
And the most gentle guy.
Yeah, that's really gentle.
But with authority.
Yeah.
And you're just like...
He sees through the bullcrap.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, he'll ask me a question like when he sees me, how's your soul, bro? How's your soul, mate?
He's been really influential in your walk, hasn't he?
Yeah. He came on board whilst I was in jail. One of the men at Morling College, Graham Dunkley, another great gospel man, just selfless guy, asked him to mentor me, asked Kel to mentor me. And he didn't want to start, not that he didn't want to, he just said, I don't have the time and space to do that.
Mentors everyone.
Yeah, to drive out to Windsor and stuff. And then eventually he just kept asking. And then he said, well, meet the chaplain, meet Wally. And when he met Wally, he just kind of fell in love with Wally. And he's like, I'll mentor this guy. And then Wally said, well, you got to come see this other guy. And then when he came and saw us, I had like 5 or 10, or I think it was almost 10 guys there waiting to greet him that I was ministering to in the jail.
Oh.
And we were just hugging him. And he was just like, what is going on here?
Yeah, that's good.
And then he sat me down, he asked my story, and he went. And I was like, okay. And then it's about 6 weeks later, he came back, and I was wrestling at that point, whether I'm actually a pastor, whether
God's calling you.
Yeah, like I was questioning big time internally. And he came back 6 weeks later and said, I went home, I talked to my wife about you, I prayed about you. I'm 86 or 85 or 86 at the time. He says, I don't know how long I got, but he goes, you're a pastor and I'm going to invest the rest of my life in you. And I was like, wow. And I've never ever felt that way I did before. And God just said, I've already told you. And that man just validated that for me. And he's just taken me and another man, now young bloke, and he's just been in my life. I meet him every week. He shares his life with me. I share mine. And he just speaks into my life, man. And even allows me to speak into his life. Like he means that much to me. And, you know, so thankful for him, yeah.
We've spoken about it and alluded to it. The church can look and feel the same, right?
Yep.
Like it looks and feels like everybody's got a cookie cutter model going on in some senses.
Society told you you're an outcast. You're not welcome.
I mean, not just that, you were an outcast within your own family. You're an outcast. Like you were disowned by your own mother. Like there was some hectic things at play there, and I think what I'm really interested in, and I know that we've had this chat, but what I'm really interested in is just this idea of discipling the outcast. This idea of going, man, I guess you're one version of what an outcast could be within the church, and there are many versions of what this could look like. But how can the church start doing this better? Like, how do we start engaging these people who are outcasts? How do we engage people who are in that prison ministry that may not look like you do, who's aggressive and angry and fighting and has all of this going on, but rather the guy that's actually the heroin addict.
Yeah. Or more than that, right? So the people who are struggling with mental ill health, who feel like they're on the outcast, or just the people who would struggle with education, or people who just don't look middle class churchies, right? So, but as you answer that, what was it like going to church? What was it like in that space, and how did that make you feel? How does it make you feel now as the bridge to answering Nick's question?
Well, the crazy thing was that the first time I went to church as a believer, I preached it from jail.
Is that right?
Like, that's crazy. They said, well, we'll offer you the opportunity. And I got a day leave to the church and preached in the church. Like, that was my first time being in a church as a believer. So that experience was just crazy
Yeah.
because like my whole family were there. There was like 60 of them, and we had more of my family and friends than the congregation. Like they never seen me out before, and I'm out there preaching. Like, this a God moment, right? And but then I started to go to church on weekend releases from prison and stuff, and from day one, going to church when as just a congregational member. Oh, okay. Where do I fit in this place?
Yeah, sure.
You know?
When you go on a weekend release, does someone from the jail go with you?
Nah, so I went and stayed with mates,
Yeah, okay.
like, and they get approved, and then I'd stay at their house on the Friday, Saturday, and then they would take me to church as a part of a
Part of the conditions.
yeah, part of a day excursion they call it,
Yeah.
and then take you back, and I go back to the jail.
Okay.
So I started going to Toongabbie every 28 days, I think, just for one Sunday, for the morning
Toongabbie
service.
Baptist Church.
Yeah, that's where they said come to Toongabbie, and I was so excited to be there and all that type of stuff. But I was always looking around. I'm always thinking not of myself. I'm thinking of my brothers. Yeah. I'm only here because I'm kind of what God's done to me. It's pretty crazy. These guys are on the journey to Jesus, and so many people are coming up to you because you're new. How are you? Where you from? What you doing? And I'm from jail. This that. But like, I'm getting a bit of anxiety and a bit of that going on. But I knew what God had taught me is that I never knew how to receive love. I never knew how to. If you talk to me, I'm thinking, what's your agenda?
Yeah.
Every majority of every inmate has that. So if you chuck them straight into the church culture, everyone's coming up and trying to love on you, and they don't know what to do.
They come with the sort of
Yeah.
skepticism,
Inside,
right?
they're dying, man.
Yeah.
And then so I started inviting boys when I got out, and they're like, bro, is this normal, man? I go, what? They just want to know my name. They want to know about me. I go, yeah, bro. I go, like, just. And,
I spent my whole life trying to be not telling anyone anything.
And then it's like, stepping back into the shadow. So they're just, that's the first point. They don't know how to receive the love. They don't know how to see if it's genuine or not.
Yeah.
So that's just one aspect that you've already got to deal with. And the churches don't know how to deal with that because they don't know that.
Yeah. I was on the way here this morning. I was thinking to myself, man, there must be a skepticism that's deep within an outcast, right? Like you're being, just by nature of being an outcast, the first thing you're going to ask is, well, why are you talking to me?
100%.
No one really talks to me.
Yeah.
Why are you talking to me?
Or
right?
are you talking to me only because I'm from jail?
Yeah.
Or
is
I've got this story?
Yeah, you got a story. You got something to offer. You got, like, what is it you want out of this relationship rather?
And the problem, and I actually think that's perpetuated in the church. And here's why. It's a bit controversial. By and large, the church, it's so mainstream, right? Like it's sanitized. I've said that before. But you bring someone like AJ in who's got this incredibly large story of pain, suffering, tragedy, evil, transformation, right? And it just runs so against the culture of church by and large, where we're educated, middle class by and large, right? And so I was talking to AJ about it. You actually feel like you're being wheeled out as a bit of a performing seal, and your story becomes one of Christian entertainment where people genuinely are blown away by the work of God and the likes. But this, the risk is that to the church as a whole, your only value is the story of what God has done rather than what this, like, that's just the beginning. It's this, what God is continually doing. That's the miracle.
Yeah.
Right.
It's almost as if they overlook the reality that you're having to still be sanctified by the Spirit. It's almost like, no, that happened and now
you must be perfect. And that's the thing, right? And so people come up and they're talking to you and because they just want to meet a murderer who's now a follower of Jesus. And again, I don't, but I don't think
That's a
it's
crazy
necessarily
statement,
intentional. But I think there's an element of truth.
Well, I
in
had
it.
one guy say to me, introduced himself to me, older gentleman, or not too old, like 50.
yeah, it's old.
Oh yeah, no.
It is not that old, bro.
And say to me, we exchanged names. What's going on? I said, I'm in jail, bro. He's like, oh yeah, what did you do? said, oh, murder. And he goes, murder? You killed someone? I go, unfortunately, yes. He's like, wow, what was that like?
Oh,
I don't think
that's what I'm talking
I don't think
about.
I could kill someone. Was it?
That's
And
what
he
I'm
was-
talking about, Nick.
He was happy. Like he was like intrigued. I was like, man,
And look, there is an intriguing element
For sure.
to another person's life.
No, but and again, I don't think it's their intentionality. I think it's how you feel.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't have a story like AJ's, but I didn't come to faith until later, and my story was a little bit radical in one sense. And you do have this sense of which, like, are you only talking to me because you just want to hear me repeat?
Yeah.
And that can be a really
Look,
hard space.
I think there's that element, and then there's the other flip side of that. So like I think that's an outcast element for sure. But my experience is a little bit different, and mine is almost like our family was the family not to be in the church.
Yeah, your whole family was an outcast. in
Yeah,
that regard.
we're also like, and that's the thing, right? And sitting here, we're coming from really not broken backgrounds. That's what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah,
for sure.
And it can't be compared.
it's not compared. No,
There's nothing to compare. It's messed up, right? That's all it is. But the thing is, we weren't outcast. We weren't wheeled out as the redemptive story of Jesus Christ. We were, well, don't be like them. Like, yeah, they're doing Christianity, but that's not the Christianity you're supposed to do, right? Like, that's not the right way to do it. And
But here's can I pick up on that? So just before was how do we disciple the outcast? Cracking in that sense, right? So we've got three of us here, all with storied backgrounds, brokenness to all various degrees, in which it's not the same right across the board. But you and I have shared before that we haven't felt like we fitted in church or across the board. AJ has said this to me before this podcast. He still struggles to feel connected into church. And the question is this is so varied, but there's a similarity here that I want to explore. Yes. So you've struggled in church, and not because it's got anything to do with the church that you're in. Like I know James, who's the pastor there, and I know he's such a cracking guy, and he's really walked hard alongside you and loves you and cares for you, but you still have this struggle.
Sure.
You think about your brothers on the inside who are transitioning out, getting to know Jesus. How does the church embrace? I know you've said we've got to be careful in just dumping love to the point, because that can be a bit scary. But how do we walk alongside the outcast? How do we do this? Like, what worked for you, and what are you trying to do with your brothers now?
Well, it all stemmed back for me at Lithgow Chapel when it started. This is where I sat there for many years, 2.5 years before I said a word, and I just sat there going every Sunday. But I always sat there listening to the chaplain, and he'd preach on the gospel or whatever it was he was preaching on. And I was like, okay, I don't really understand what he's saying. But I go, how is that going to help what he's saying to me and the story in the Bible or what Jesus is doing? How is that helping my rage and my anger and my murderous thoughts? I go, what about the heroin addict next to me? What about the guy who's on ice right now? What about the gang member over there? I go, there's got to be a way that Jesus is going to reach us and help us discover what's going on in me and how to change me.
Yeah.
I go, what he is saying is not working. And then I felt to myself, if I got up there, I would say that. So then when I started preaching in jail, I said, how many of us are broken? How many of us hate ourselves? How many of us have murderous thoughts? And then you see all these men look at me. And I go, what does Jesus say about that? So I started preaching to the context, to the pain that we're in. They started to respond and come and start to want to follow Jesus or think about Jesus. They saw authenticity up there, and a guy speaking the same troubles that they have. I go to church. I haven't heard a sermon yet about the troubles that I have.
Yeah, I freaking resonate with that so much.
You need to come to church and hear a gospel message saying, are you battling this and that and they say, yeah. I've never seen that yet.
Yeah, you see, I resonate with that. I think that there's something that's fundamentally true about that. Where I would always say, like, one of the things that bothered me so much about one of the churches that I was a part of. I won't say any part of that.
Yep.
No.
But
Well, let that one go.
but he would go something like, "Oh man, I almost thought about lying, but then I didn't." And I'm going, "You are so far removed from the sinfulness that I battle every day."
And you're lying.
Like,
Yeah, and you're like, and at that moment, you're like, you almost thought about lying, bro. I've thought about lying 5 times in the last 10 minutes.
like I'm so bad. I'm battling with
Yeah.
sin that you are probably you would make you spit on me the way that you
100%.
sort of like.
If you knew what I was thinking at times
Yeah.
and what I think about an individual, you would have let me out of jail.
It's unreal, right?
Jesus knows, and
Yeah.
he met me.
But how hard, like just on a separate point, right, to reconcile his grace when you know that he knows the darkness that
that's
still resides in us. Because it's true. Like even now, like there's still moments,
Yeah.
like still angry and hurt and painful and unforgiving. Like those moments, I think to myself, oh man, I know that he knows that, but he still loves me.
Yeah.
But we don't, but we need to be honest when we're preaching, right?
And we need to be honest when we're preaching so we can teach the congregation and ourselves so they can help experience the depth of God's grace.
Ah, that's good.
Yeah.
I sit in church, I go, I'm lucky or blessed to experience and understand the depth of Jesus' grace to me.
Yeah.
Well, you've seen the darkness in its
Right?
fullness.
And I think, how do they know this?
Mm.
How do they experience that? Because when you do that, as we have, when those times that we're thinking or we're raging or whatever it is, we fall back on that depth of his grace, man.
Amen to that.
The church is struggling with.
So, okay, so we've got 2 elements so far, right? So we don't want to be aloof, but we want to give people space to find comfort in that.
Yeah.
We need to preach with authenticity. We need to preach. We need to preach the darkness and the beauty of Jesus' light in that space.
And live with authenticity.
Well,
though,
no,
right?
but that's the thing.
Yeah.
So even as preachers, mate, if we're not living with that authenticity,
bit-
then
well,
mate,
it means nothing, right?
that is 100% the truth. And that authenticity does not mean we are authentically perfect.
No, it's
Okay,
authentically
like that is because that is not
No.
true. That is not authentic.
No.
It's about living that out. So we've got to preach it. We've got to live it as pastors. But how does congregations walk along, individuals within congregations, walk alongside other people in brokenness to all of its varying degrees?
Well,
What do we do there?
Can I add on to that? Just because I think one of the things you spoke about was you got up and you preached in prison, and would that same kind of openness be available to someone like me walking into that prison who hasn't understood that walk and that journey, who we live in different worlds, right? We and so when I say, "Oh, I'm broken," do you think there's an essence in them that's going to maybe go,
Mate, you don't know brokenness.
You don't know darkness.
But
man.
what it's good, you coming into the jail helps you experience how good God is and his grace and his salvation, how real that is to you. Pastors used to come into the jail and sit in the services that I was doing and talk to the boys and everything. And they all said to me, like emotionally, like, you don't understand how real you guys are. And we come here to be ministered to.
How do we disciple the outcast?
Yeah.
So let's go back into that. I know for me, I had a number of men, one of which was a pastor, and the way that he walked with me, 3 times a week we met, lifting weights, 3 times a week. We would at that same time would read the Bible and pray together. That was transformative. You've got Kel, who meets with you every week. How do we take that? What do we need to do to take that and to multiply that
Throughout the church,
throughout the church? And actually, before we go there, that's presumptuous.
Yeah.
Is that the best way? Just because it's our experience, is that the best way? And then how would we do that?
Well, the element with Kel and me, that's not the best way. It's only because I'm stepping into ministry. And he's developing me as a leader. So the average guy coming out from the inside is not going to be that, right? So a Kel wouldn't work for him. So even Kel came into the prisons and he preached, but most of the boys were like, you know,
He's a nice old dude, whatever.
Yeah. But then when one of us gets up and preaches, or someone who's them, they're like, "I'll listen."
Yeah.
So, for instance, Wally, the chaplain, he's discipled me for 3.5 years, and now it's beyond discipleship. It's just mentor,
It's just mates.
accountability with each other.
Yeah, it's just friendship.
And what do? We go to the gym, we box, we do things that makes us tick. But while we're doing that, we're bonding, we're holding each other accountable, we're sharpening each other as iron so sharpens iron. But we're doing the things that we love to do.
Yeah.
But we're doing it as gospel men together. And that's my most impactful discipleship that I receive, and that I actually disciple others.
So it's doing life.
It's doing life.
And that was the thing for me.
Yeah. And
when I
what
was
you
doing
guys
the pastor,
do, if you go hunt, you go hunting. It's not like, let's go picnic. Let's go do what we love to do. And God's at the center of that conversation and the center of what we're doing.
Or if you like picnicking, you
can go picnic. You know what I mean? Whatever you want.
Nick loves to picnic.
I'll picnic all day. Yeah.
One of the favourite memories of him is to tiptoe through the gardens. It's really quite spectacular.
Oh, it was the dust box.
People from inside the church, building relationships, just doing ordinary life. Are you saying that just doing ordinary life, living out authentic discipleship and following Jesus in all of its messiness is the thing to help the outcast?
For me, that's what I believe wholeheartedly, because most guys who grew up like me never had a family like unit that functioned well. So, you've invited me to your house this weekend.
Yeah.
We ate dinner together.
Yeah.
We sat at a table together. I saw how you
laughed together.
Yeah, I saw how you interacted with your kids, but how you loved your wife, how you communicate with your wife. Coming from where I have come from, I've never seen that. Yeah. So you're modeling to me what a kingdom man is. So when I have that, I know what it looks like. And watching that and doing life with you, you're modeling the kingdom to me. And you're also modeling a man that's got sin in him and he's broken still, and he fluctuates from this to that, but he's still centered on Jesus. So every time you don't get it right, I see you go back to Jesus. That is the impact of discipleship that we need to see for outcasts.
Well, I think of you preached on it, 1 Corinthians 9, right? And this Paul, because there is an element to this that goes, well, as I'm discipling, I can just gather around people that do things that I like to do.
Yeah.
But there's also the element of discipleship where Paul's going, I become all things to all men.
That's right.
Yeah. So you're going to do things that you don't like.
Yeah,
for sure.
So maybe
what
I
they
don't
like, and you go be with them.
So you look at what the outcast is doing and going, the best way to reach that guy is to be where that guy wants to be. Not where I want to be, but where that guy wants to be. Because
discipleship it's both ways. But at the beginning, when you got someone working with, you got to serve them.
Yeah.
God's calling you to serve them.
And I love what you just said then. That there's a transformation that is taking place inside of discipleship relationship.
For sure.
There's a growth as there's a stitching together where it's not me as the fountain of all wealth, imparting some knowledge on you. It's we're walking this out together. And in the beginning, I might know a little bit more, or I've tripped up enough times where I'm a little bit further down. But eventually, that relationship changes where, like what you said with Wally, where now it's just two brothers who meet and iron sharpens iron. That there's not this hierarchy. No. There's not this he's perfect and I'm broken. It's we're both broken, walking towards Jesus, being transformed, where we're going to hold each other accountable, and the relationship dynamic shifts to real family.
Yeah.
To brotherhood, to sisterhood, to the kingdom family. I think, sorry to hit out on that, but I think we miss that knowledge when we talk about discipleship relationships. That
it's both ways.
That it is both ways, and it's both ways from the get-go.
Yep, from the beginning.
Just someone has a little bit more biblical knowledge or a little bit more biblical wisdom.
Yeah.
But but it's from the get-go, we are equally broken, equally in need of his grace, and equally walking alongside one another towards Jesus.
Yeah, and there's nothing that you think like, and that's the thing, right? I think you cannot say to a person or presume of a person, oh, there's nothing they can teach me. They've just started, right? They're a bit
Yeah.
green. Like,
Whoa,
what are
how
you
arrogant!
saying?
How
Like,
arrogant can you be in that?
My motto in jail that I learned from was that every man I can learn from,
absolutely.
every man of what to do or what not to do.
Amen to that.
So I
Absolutely.
watched men for 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest with you, so much of our learning, right? When you come from dysfunction, so much of our learning is what not to do, what not to be. We don't actually necessarily know what to do.
Yeah.
So many of the times when I think about how to be a dad, particularly early on, how do I be a father? How do I be a husband? Once I came to faith, all I knew was, I don't know what that looks like, but I know what it's not to look like.
For sure.
And then sometimes I still do those stupid things and it drives me mental.
Of course.
But
Yep.
breaks my heart, man. But that's it, right?
Yeah.
Like but you've got an opportunity, I suppose, that the vast majority don't. So let me try to unpack this. I want to be clear. Everyone in church has an opportunity. Everyone in the kingdom not only has an opportunity, but has a responsibility to disciple and to love and to walk with the outcast.
Yep.
Because that's what Jesus himself did.
Yep.
Right?
And
Sin has meant that all of humanity are outcast to his glory.
Yep.
Right? So we are all outcasts.
Yep.
All of us.
All of us. And so all of us then as outcasts have this opportunity to still come to the Father, to know this adoption through Christ Jesus, to be empowered by his Spirit to live for his glory in all of its mess. All of us has the opportunity to disciple other people who are outcasts on the scale.
Yep.
But brother, you've got an opportunity and a passion to reach your brothers who still find themselves at the extreme end of social outcast. You don't get any more extreme than when a judge declares you're not worthy to be a part of society. You're in prison for the next however long.
Yep.
Your experience does give you a potential to talk to your brothers in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More so than us, probably.
100%.
Yeah.
And you've got a passion for that.
Yeah.
What are you hoping that God might do? Because there's going to be some... Is there limitations on you? Are there blockers at the moment for you?
Yeah, there is. I can't get a working of children's check. So to be a pastor or anyone in the church of any authority at all, even to make coffee, you can't work in the church. And as a pastor, you need a working of children's check.
And you can't get a working with children check. Why?
Why? Because of the charge of murder.
Okay.
So even though I have no, crime or offences at all towards children or anything like that, it's just that this charge, I can't even apply for
the
working
rest
with
of your
children's check
life.
for the rest of my life. I can't even apply. And if I go to the courts with it, which we're thinking about, they're going to have to change the law. It's
Australia law.
Yeah, like the law's going to have to change. And that's the consequence that I've got to live with. But now I am a qualified pastor. But
Yeah, you've done your degree.
And I can't get paid or have any authority in the church. I can't become a prison chaplain because they work with the families of corrective officers and the men.
So they need work.
So they need working
And
with
that's
children's
that
checks
thing,
as
right?
well.
Because chaplains, man, like they've got a responsibility both to the guys in blue and the guys in green.
Oh, no,
right?
you're a chaplain to both.
Yeah.
And it's equal. It has to be equal. Can't be one-sided. And that's the wrestle in that job,
But you can't do that?
No, I can't do that. We always knew this would be a battle. Yeah, I can become a pastor, but how can I work as one? So I'm at that wrestle right now. What do I do? I'm pleading with God. How do you use me?
What are you feeling?
What I'm feeling is I always had this fear that I said, God, don't put me back in the jails because I don't want to spend the rest of my life in there.
But what's he calling you to do?
Yeah, he's calling me back, man. And I've been sitting in church for a year now, and I've been aching. My heart's been aching, bro, because I'm like, I always look, and I look for the doors that when they're coming in, and no one's coming in. All the men and women that I want to come in
Into church.
into church, right? And I'm like, my heart aches when I need to preach and teach and walk with my brothers and my sisters that live like me. My mission that I believe God has put on my heart is to introduce men and women to Jesus. And I can't do that in church. I feel like, because none of them are coming through the doors. So like, maybe God is actually stopping the working of Children's Check to show me that this is where I'm putting you. And I don't know where he's going to put me. I don't know how he's going to put me there. But I know I just want to see men transformed, and women too, but especially men, because if we transform the broken, dysfunctional men that have grown up in that life like I have, like some of us have, and they come to Jesus and they become men of God, kingdom men, that will shape and overflow into their house, into their wives, into their kids, and stop the next cycle of dysfunction and abuse. And the only way to do that is we've got to be ministering to these guys. But they're not coming to our churches, and I'm not allowed to go where they are. But I want to go where they are. And I don't know how to do that yet.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm waiting on God for.
And so we want to walk with you, brother,
Yeah, man.
and pray with you into that space, because I think you've got an incredible opportunity to love and to serve and to share Jesus with those. But bro, can I encourage you? You have so much to teach the church.
Yeah.
You have so much to teach his church.
Yeah.
About how to love the outcast.
Yeah.
How to treat and to embrace brokenness just like Jesus does. There's a duality of the ministry here that I honestly, in my heart, believe that God has got for you, that I think you need to continue to explore. Yeah. Because the truth of the matter is one day, those guys who are incarcerated, they get out, just like you said before.
Yeah.
They do get released. And we have a responsibility as disciples of Jesus to walk with them, to love them, to help them, to nurture them. And it's going to get messy.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've got a way, you've got an ability, and you've got an experience that you have much to teach his church about loving the outcast.
Yeah.
And I think you've also, you need to continue to pray. We need to continue to pray and advocate for ways for you to be able to serve those who live in that brokenness.
Yeah, man.
And they can, because I want to see more people know the love of Jesus.
Yeah, this is what we're here. This is what we're called to do. You know, and there's a need there, man, and especially in the men, the young boys growing up into manhood. The men are having in prison. Men, there's so many fathers in jail who have got multiple kids out there to different women and are fatherless, and it's just producing. The cycle continues and continues, and we need to ask Jesus to move in that space, you know, and provide a way for us to go in and do what he wants us to do.
It's good, mate.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, mate. What a combo.
Dude, I actually love this job.
Doing this podcast is like the greatest thing.
It's so much fun, man.
So much fun. It is.
I can't. The story, the reality of what people live is confronting sometimes, right?
Yeah, it is.
It just challenges me. But realistically, my perspective at the moment is that I think we unpacked quite a bit. We spoke about Ephesians 6.
Yeah.
You spoke about 2 Corinthians 5, 1 Corinthians 9. I think we
ticked
landed.
the Bible board.
Yeah. No, but we landed, right?
Yeah, no,
I think we landed in a great space where it was like, to add, I think, would only be to detract at this point. Does that make sense?
100%. I guess I'm left with questions that I think it's going to be great for us to continue to explore. AJ gave us some gold around how we can disciple the outcast, right?
Yeah.
I think there was some incredible stuff around how the community needs to love, but be gracious.
Yeah.
I think there's some stuff for preachers and teachers to be really landing what the scriptures mean and how these apply to our lives and to our brokenness.
Yeah.
I think he gave us some gold around walking side by side in community and reorientating so much of our thinking around what discipleship and I hate mentoring, but mentoring, I think there's some gold in that space. AJ has given us genuine nuggets for us to really continue to shape. Because the question for us is, how do we, with this gift that we are given and the ministry that God has called us to, how do we encourage, equip, model, and empower and release God's people in his church to do the things that AJ just told us about? Do you see what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
That's that wrestle for us. Man, we could sit here and rightly be blown away by all what God has done in AJ's life. But you know the thing for me, the thing that blows my mind is not just about what God has saved AJ from, but I think the real nugget is the miracle of what Jesus is doing in AJ and the passion and the commitment to live out discipleship to the outcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I want us to be inspired by, to be humbled by, to be challenged by, and to praise Jesus for. So there's stuff for us to learn. You're right. There's not anything more for us to unpack. We landed, but I want us to think about it. I want those who are listening to wrestle with that question. How can they love, serve, disciple the outcast? Because they're one of them.
That's the thing, right? I think, because there's that element. How can you? But I think the other thing is, as an outcast,
You need to recognize you're an outcast.
and how do you let others love and serve you,
Man, that's
as an
gold.
outcast, right? Like
Right.
this
So it's
both
both ends.
ends, right?
I hadn't thought about that. You're right. I guess my brain always focuses on the doing, but you're right. But as you do that, how do you, in your brokenness, accept people to love and to walk side along you?
Yeah.
Because we are all outcasts.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's good stuff.
That is beautiful. All right, we're done.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, me
Thanks,
too.
man. That was great.
It was fun. Hey, everyone. I hope you were encouraged. I hope this causes deep contemplation in you. And I hope you will pray alongside us for AJ to see doors opened up so that he can walk back into prison.
Yeah.
It's weird. You got Acts, right? Where Peter, the doors are flung open so he can walk out of jail, and we're going to be praying for doors to open up so AJ can go back.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Paul and Silas thing going on. No,
yeah,
don't worry.
but-
We're all here. We haven't gone anywhere. We're set free, but we're hanging around.
Yeah, but he's not allowed to do anything stupid to get back in, right, AJ? All right. Hey, see you guys.